biggest interest rate cuts in history.
Interest at banks.
Crisis will happen.
The biggest fiscal stimulus we have ever seen.
And that'll solve the problem. We're in the midst of a serious financial crisis, and the federal government is responding with decisive action. We boosted confidence in money market.
Contraiu grande empréstimo para a compra de casa? Ou investiu as poupanças em ações, fundos de investimento e obrigações? Se respondeu que não, descontraia. Contudo, todos aqueles que o fizeram têm os dias contados. Esta é a história da maior crise financeira da nossa era, a que está a caminho.
They spent hundreds of billions of dollars to show that they were doing something, but not properly designed and not as effective as it should have been.
When they start losing money, hey, we got to get back in the game. We got to get those dice rolling again. Hey, let's create another bubble. You think the dot-com bubble was too big? We got a bigger one for you. We'll call it the real estate and the credit.
Well, the problem is they never actually cure the crisis, right? They just give alcohol to a drunk. It doesn't sober him up. It just, sets him up for, a bigger hangover. And that's all we've done. And that's all we're trying to do. And so I know at some point you kill the patient, right? At some point you can't drink anymore. It's just the end of it. You reach the end of the ability. And that's where we are.
Congress wanted to believe them. Congress wanted an excuse to bail out the auto workers. And the executives gave them just enough political cover to say, well, I'm not really doing this because I want auto worker votes and I'm going to give them a huge amount of money. I'm really doing this for the American economy.
The Federal Reserve has cut its key interest rate on record. The federal
So the solution is the problem. That's why we had a problem in the first place. And this is the danger in protecting investors and consumers from the consequences of their own decisions.
Overdose, a próxima crise financeira.
We can do it, but we need to do it soon, because the clock is ticking and time is not working in our favor.
I know many Americans have questions tonight. How did we reach this point in our economy? And what does this mean for your financial future? These are good questions, and they deserve clear answers. First, how did our economy reach this point?
They took down the symbols, the financial symbols of America, the twin towers of the world trade.
Today, we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center.
My old company, my old company where I used to work, the whole company's missing.
Como tantas outras da nossa era, a história da maior crise financeira começa nos Estados Unidos a 11 de setembro de 2001. Os terroristas sabiam perfeitamente o que estavam a fazer ao atacar o derradeiro símbolo da economia global. E fizeram-no quando o país mergulhava numa recessão, depois do rebentamento da bolha da internet.
Despite the tragic events of September the 11th, the foundations of our free society remain sound, and I am confident that we will recover and prosper as we have in the past.
Na primavera de 2001, a Reserva Federal começou a baixar as taxas de juro. Em 2010, continuou a fazê-lo para salvar as empresas à beira do precipício e, consequentemente, para manter baixo o nível de desemprego. Durante 2001, a taxa de juro passou de 6,5% para 1,75%. Em 2003, ficou reduzida a 1%, um valor que se manteve durante um ano.
Predicting the panic of 2008, the economic 9/11, and the current economic crisis that we're still in was probably one of the easiest forecasts we've ever made in our 30 years of trend forecasting. It was very simple.
Gerald Celente vive em Kingston, a poucos quilómetros a norte de Nova Iorque. É um dos analistas financeiros mais proeminentes dos Estados Unidos. Já foi apelidado de Nostradamus moderno. Não só previu a atual crise, como também o rebentamento da bolha tecnológica e o crash bolsista de 1987.
Immediately after 9/11, the President of the United States, George W. Bush, told the people to be good Americans and go out and shop. But how are they going to do it? You're in a recession. Federal Reserve comes to the rescue.
Na sua biografia, o antigo presidente da Reserva Federal, Alan Greenspan, afirmou saber que a descida da taxa de juro poderia originar uma bolha.
It's party time.
Geralmente os bancos centrais retiram a poncheira mal começa a festa. A taxa de juro não pode permanecer baixa durante muito tempo. Caso contrário, as pessoas farão coisas de que se arrependem mais tarde.
This is one party that just has to turn out right.
Well, the purpose of a party is to have fun together. And a successful party needs planning and skill.
Greenspan disse que a Reserva Federal nunca devia retirar a poncheira, mas antes estar sempre a enchê-la assim que a festa esmorecesse. Se as coisas corressem mal, a Reserva Federal teria a responsabilidade de pôr tudo em ordem e tratar da ressaca. Os bancos e os especuladores adoraram esta solução. Agora podiam assumir maiores riscos do que antes. Se fossem bem-sucedidos, ficavam com os lucros. Se não fossem, Greenspan estaria lá para os salvar.
Mom was that way. Let me come home crying over something and she'd give me candy every time.
When you see the stock market come down and the real estate bubble burst, all that phony wealth is going to evaporate. And all that's going to be left is all the debt that we accumulated to foreigners.
À semelhança de outros analistas, Peter Schiff também foi alvo de chacota quando previu que a crise atingiria a economia norte-americana em plena expansão.
We went on an unprecedented global spending binge. American citizens borrowed and spent trillions of dollars to buy stuff. And that is why we're in so much trouble. It was because we got drunk on all that Fed alcohol. Fed alcohol. Fed alcohol.
Num mundo que se tornou repentinamente incerto e num país a ser atacado, nada parecia mais seguro do que investir na casa própria, no sonho norte-americano.
I do believe in the American dream. I believe there is such a thing as the American dream. Owning a home is a part of that dream. It just is. Right here in America, if you own your own home, you're realizing the American dream.
Vernon Smith foi laureado com o Nobel da Economia em 2002 pelas investigações na área da economia experimental. Nas suas experiências, põe à prova as teorias económicas. Smith é um especialista em bolhas.
If you can buy a home with almost nothing down, then you do well if the prices continue to go up. If it goes down, well, then you have an incentive to walk away from it and let the bank have it.
As taxas de juro baixas originaram a bolha do imobiliário. Com os empréstimos baratos, as pessoas compraram cada vez mais casas e cada vez maiores. O preço das casas começou a subir 10% ao ano. Muitas acabaram por pedir um segundo empréstimo sobre o mesmo imóvel para terem dinheiro para as suas despesas.
You want to go on that vacation? Buy some new clothes? How about putting an addition on your house? You don't have the money? How about a home equity loan? That's for you. Let's use your house as a piggy bank.
Os bancos concederam empréstimos praticamente a qualquer um. Qual o interesse de ter rendimentos chorudos para comprar uma casa quando se podia enriquecer vivendo nessa casa? O mercado até inventou a expressão empréstimos Nina, acrónimo inglês para sem rendimentos, sem bens, sem problema. O empréstimo era sempre aprovado.
The legislation was more aggressively pushing lenders to lend to people of modest means, people whose incomes were 80% of the median income or below.
Os políticos incentivavam isso. Durante muito tempo, tanto a direita como a esquerda apelavam à compra de casa. Para tal, criaram benefícios fiscais, subsídios e seguros. E até criaram duas grandes empresas de financiamento de hipotecas, Fannie Mae e Freddie Mac. A sua função consistia em utilizar os milhares de milhões de dólares disponíveis para conceder empréstimos a pessoas que não tinham acesso no mercado tradicional. Eram empresas patrocinadas pelo governo. Pertenciam a privados, mas foram criadas pelo Congresso e as transações eram garantidas pelo governo.
So particularly Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are government-sponsored enterprises. And what it means is they're private, not now maybe, but they're private companies that have special charters from the government. And the thing about government-sponsored enterprises, which is the main thing people are talking about, is a sense that they're guaranteed by the government.
First of all, government-sponsored corporations that help create our mortgage system. I introduced two of the leaders here today. They call those people Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, as well as the federal home loan banks, will increase their commitment to minority markets by more than $440 billion.
Na última década, Fannie Mae e Freddie Mac doaram mais de 200 milhões de dólares aos políticos de Washington. Eram empresas patrocinadas pelo governo. Perguntámos ao antigo economista-chefe da Freddie Mac o que receberam em troca desse dinheiro.
I don't know. I mean, that's a tougher question. No, they had a pretty good charter. They were regulated in a spotty way. In many ways, the regulatory structure wasn't that bad, but it was the case that the regulatory structure was a compromise. It wasn't a treasury, it wasn't a housing, really. It was somewhere in between.
You know, there was a huge moral hazard courtesy of the government in the mortgage market. When the government, through Fannie and Freddie, started to guarantee mortgages, then the lenders were no longer worried about getting their money back because the government said, we guarantee it.
And so that's why I proposed and urged Congress to fully fund the American Dream Down Payment Fund. This will use money, taxpayers' money, to help a qualified low-income buyer make a down payment.
Well, greed has to be balanced with a certain amount of fear, and that's what down payment rules are all about, and amortization rules, is to keep people from carried away by, as you say, the greed of expecting to become rich by buying a home and reselling it at a higher price.
And that's important. And one of the barriers to home ownership is the inability to make a down payment. And if one of the goals is to increase home ownership, it makes sense to help people pay that down payment.
This is the problem, the moral hazard. We gave a moral hazard to home buyers. Once you say that you can buy a home with no down payment, all of a sudden there's no risk to the borrower. He doesn't care if he overpays, because if the house keeps going up, he makes money. If it stops going up, the bank loses the money. You know, we have moral hazards in our banking system. The U.S. government guarantees all bank deposits. Well, what does that mean? That means that depositors don't care what the banks do with their money once they deposit it, because they know the government guarantees it.
And the federal government obviously has to play an important role. And we will. We will. I mean, when I lay out a goal, I mean it.
Why are they doing that? Why can't we let mortgages be financed in the private sector? The reason is because the private sector would not finance these crazy mortgages, and real estate prices would have to come down to levels that people can actually afford.
How can you promote home ownership if people can't afford the home?
Os grandes bancos arriscaram conceder empréstimos de maior risco, porque começaram a recondicionar os empréstimos e a vendê-los a terceiros na forma de títulos. Venderam entre si, à Fannie Mae e à Freddie Mac, mas também à Noruega, Alemanha e China. Se os empréstimos fossem um fiasco, seria outra pessoa a ficar com a batata quente nas mãos.
I guess we're a little early. What do you want to do?
Anything but inspect this temple of capitalism.
Oh, Nick.
Look at them. Their eyes popping out of their heads, drooling over the very things that are taking away their jobs.
Now, Nick, don't get all excited. My family think that America is a pretty swell place, and I don't want you to disillusion them.
I know.
Todos queriam comprar porque as agências de rating que avaliam os títulos financeiros atribuíram a classificação mais alta às obrigações hipotecárias. Prometeram avultados retornos em troca de um risco quase nulo. As agências de rating pensaram que o preço das casas continuaria a subir, mas havia um pormenor. Essas agências eram pagas pelas mesmas pessoas que tinham os títulos à venda.
And I think the process was corrupted. First of all, the government licenses Moody's and Standard & Poor's, so there's only a few companies who are authorized to rate these bonds. So it wasn't really a free market. The government was in bed with Moody's and with Standard & Poor's. But also you had this perverse relationship between Wall Street and the rating agencies where they were paying the rating agencies to rate the products that they were structuring. And so there was, this was an incestuous relationship where they knew if they put bad ratings on them, they wouldn't sell. And if they didn't sell, they wouldn't be making all this money constantly rating them.
Foram bons tempos, mas tudo baseado no mercado que crescia artificialmente. Os empréstimos eram mantidos baixos para continuar a inflacionar o preço das casas. Porém, quando a taxa de juro voltou ao nível normal, em 2006, acabou-se o encanto. Contudo, para uma pessoa, o futuro permanecia promissor. Ben Bernanke, o sucessor de Alan Greenspan na Reserva Federal norte-americana.
Tell me, what is the worst case scenario if, in fact, we were to see prices come down substantially across the country?
Well, I guess I don't buy your premise. It's a pretty unlikely possibility. We've never had a decline in house prices on a nationwide basis.
As pessoas já não conseguiam contrair novos empréstimos para pagar os antigos. Aqueles que o tinham conseguido, apesar dos baixos rendimentos, acabaram por entrar em incumprimento. Os preços começaram a cair, tornando as obrigações hipotecárias cada vez mais desinteressantes.
There's not much indication at this point that subprime mortgage issues have spread into the broader mortgage market, which still seems to be healthy.
As agências de rating baixaram as elevadas classificações dos títulos. De repente, os investidores que confiavam cegamente nas classificações ficaram sem saber o que tinham comprado. Desconheciam o risco inerente a esses títulos.
Overall, the U.S. economy appears likely to expand at a moderate pace over the second half of 2007, with growth then strengthening a bit in 2008 to a rate close to the economy's underlying trend.
As peças do dominó começaram a cair. Os investidores deixaram de comprar obrigações hipotecárias e recusaram-se a emprestar àqueles que dependiam desses títulos. De repente, os bancos de investimento, como o Bear Stearns e o Lehman Brothers, deixaram de conseguir novos empréstimos para se manterem no ativo. Fannie Mae e Freddie Mac já não conseguiam disfarçar os estragos. A crise financeira começou de uma forma que é assustadoramente semelhante à situação atual, com uma crise económica nos Estados Unidos e uma resposta firme do governo. Depois do 11 de setembro e o colapso tecnológico, a administração norte-americana decidiu salvar a economia alimentando uma nova bolha. Atualmente, o mundo está a tentar sair da crise financeira, criando uma nova bolha. A diferença é que esta bolha é muito maior.
After they did the dot-com bubble, and that burst, and they reinflated it with the real estate and credit crisis bubble, and then when that burst, now they've created the bubble of all bubbles. And it's not only the United States, this is a global bubble. They're all into it. It's called the bailout bubble. Hey, the economy's going down, recession's setting in, sales don't look good, exports soft, need more money? How about, we'll call it stimulus packages. And from Australia to the United States, from the UK to China, they're dumping funny money into the system to keep it going.
Em setembro de 2008, a economia norte-americana estava à beira da ruptura. O governo adquiriu a Fannie Mae e a Freddie Mac. A 15 de setembro, o grande banco de investimento Lehman Brothers entra em bancarrota, depois de apostar fortemente no mercado imobiliário. A maior seguradora do mundo, a AIG, faliu pouco depois. O medo instalou-se. Parecia que ninguém estava a salvo. De repente, os bancos deixaram de conceder créditos às empresas ou entre si. Os especialistas alertam para o colapso iminente da economia.
This CBS News special report, a presidential address to the nation. From CBS News headquarters in New York, here is Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. President Bush asked the networks for this television time so he could talk directly to you about a national crisis. Some of this country's major financial institutions are in danger of collapsing under the weight of bad mortgages, and that would be devastating for the entire economy.
We are in the midst of a serious financial crisis, and the federal government is responding with decisive action.
Num comunicado televisivo, ao tentar acalmar, dizendo que podem confiar nele, que ele tinha a solução, Bush acaba por assustar ainda mais o mercado.
Under our proposal, the federal government would put up to $700 billion taxpayer dollars on the line to purchase troubled assets that are clogging the financial system.
O governo norte-americano pretende gastar avultadas somas de dinheiro nos bancos de Wall Street para encobrir os maus negócios realizados. Até os bancos que não querem essa ajuda serão obrigados a aceitar o dinheiro para que a opinião pública não saiba quais os bancos que estão em dificuldade.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Speaker.
I want to thank the Secretary of the Treasury for working hard with the members. I thank the members for working long hours like they've been doing to come up with a solution that's bipartisan and that'll solve the problem.
A 3 de outubro, o Congresso aprova o maior resgate financeiro da história, 700 mil milhões de dólares. Pelo mundo fora, na Alemanha, Itália, no Canadá, na Coreia do Sul e no Reino Unido, os demais políticos fazem o mesmo para salvar os respectivos bancos.
We've taken the right, the decisive and the tough decision that was necessary to protect the stability of the financial system and to protect the depositors.
David Walker foi auditor-geral de contas dos Estados Unidos entre 1998 e 2008. Abandonou o cargo por discordar do rumo da economia norte-americana. Queria que tivesse a liberdade de poder alertar as pessoas para as consequências.
In my view, the bailout was necessary in certain regards, but in many cases we wasted a lot of money because we didn't do three things. First, have clearly defined objectives about what we were trying to achieve. Secondly, have criteria established up front as to who would get the money and who wouldn't get the money. And number three, have conditions established up front as to what they could and couldn't do with the money. And as a result of not having those three things, some people got the money that didn't deserve it. Other people got the money that didn't make good use of it. And as a result, we had a lot of waste with regard to taxpayer money.
What would it mean if the domestic industry were allowed to fail? You heard Senator Stabenow, so I won't repeat other than to say the cost.
Em resultado da crise, a situação tornou-se crítica para a indústria automóvel norte-americana. A 19 de novembro, os grandes executivos do setor foram a Washington pedir dinheiro.
The executives came out and they said, if you don't do this, we are going to see a jobs holocaust. They issued extremely high estimates of how many jobs would be lost that included counting every single company that supplies them with anything.
That's why this is all about a lot more than just Detroit. It's about saving the U.S. economy from a catastrophic collapse.
Um mês depois, o presidente Bush entrega milhares de milhões de dólares à General Motors e à Chrysler. A verba sai do pacote de resgate financeiro que foi exclusivamente concebido para salvar o setor financeiro.
Now some U.S. auto executives say that their companies are nearing collapse, and that the only way they can buy time to restructure is with help from the federal government.
Analista financeira da The Atlantic, Megan McArdle, já escreveu vários artigos sobre os problemas da indústria automóvel norte-americana.
Congress wanted an excuse to bail out the auto workers, and the executives gave them just enough political cover to say, well, I'm not really doing this because I want auto worker votes and I'm going to give them a huge amount of money. I'm really doing this for the American economy. But if you look at how much money we gave them, I mean, you're talking about almost $100 billion is how much we will end up spending on this. You know, even if you were saving millions of jobs, it would have been cheaper to give every single one of those people $100,000 to go out and, find a new job.
The big guys on Wall Street, they can't take their losses. They're crybaby capitalists. Oh, they preach capitalism for everybody but themselves.
The Federal Reserve has cut its key interest rate to the lowest level on record. Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke and his colleagues also pledged to use all available tools to contain the widening crisis and the longest recession in a quarter century.
16 de dezembro de 2008 está novamente na hora de adicionar álcool à poncheira. A Reserva Federal reduz as taxas de juro para valores próximos de 0%, de modo a recuperar a confiança dos investidores. Os demais bancos centrais fazem o mesmo.
Hey, have no credit? Don't worry about it. Just sign on the dotted line.
The housing bubble that they inflated blew up with all the carnage and all the bankruptcies, and now what is their solution? Well, gee, let's do the same thing we did before. Instead of having interest rates at 1%, let's have them at 0%. And let's buy everything we can. Let's print money and buy mortgages. Let's buy credit card debt, student loans. Let's buy bonds and let's drop money from helicopters to try to get the same risk-taking, excessive gambling on Wall Street. Let's try to convince Americans who are already loaded up on debt to go out and buy more stuff, to go out and go deeper into debt. And if the banks don't want to lend them money, let's make them lend them money. I mean, this is economic, suicide.
Enquanto a Reserva Federal baixava as taxas de juro, o então recém-eleito presidente Obama preparava um enorme pacote de incentivos para manter a economia norte-americana.
We are running out of the traditional ammunition that's used in a recession, which is to lower interest rates. They're getting to be about as low as they can go.
The American Recovery and Reinvestment Act that I will sign today, a plan that meets the principles I laid out in January, is the most sweeping economic recovery package in our history.
A 7 de fevereiro de 2009, Obama aprova o pacote de incentivos no valor de 787 mil milhões de dólares. Juntamente com o pacote de Bush aprovado no ano anterior, os políticos norte-americanos já gastaram perto de $1,5 bilhão de dólares para relançar a economia norte-americana. A verba é gasta em estradas, aeroportos, na educação, no desemprego e noutras ajudas.
There's a bureaucracy in everywhere. And, in Italy they used to say, where I'm from, when you have a jar of honey, you lick your fingers.
A cidade de Union está situada a poucas horas da fronteira com o Canadá. Foi aqui que a empresa informática IBM nasceu e cresceu para se tornar a maior do mundo. Atualmente as fábricas estão encerradas, mas a cidade recuperou o ritmo de pequena urbe. Por esse motivo ficaram todos surpreendidos quando foram atribuídos à cidade $600 mil do pacote de incentivos para combater os sem-abrigo.
On occasion, our police officers may run across someone and they try to, take the person to an area where the individual can get some shelter and get something to eat, but it's not a problem here.
Estamos em Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills. É provavelmente o bairro comercial de luxo mais famoso do mundo. Foi aqui que, por exemplo, a personagem de Julia Roberts andou às compras em Sonho de Mulher. As verbas do pacote de incentivos também chegaram aqui. Estas ruas vão ser novamente alcatroadas por $1 milhão. Sim, o piso deve ter alguns buracos. Mas será este o tipo de economia que precisa de ajudas?
we had a $787 billion stimulus bill. But only about 1/3 of it was truly stimulus. By that I mean timely, targeted, and temporary. The other 2/3 were things that people wanted to do, had been wanting to do for a long time, but they didn't want to have to pay for it. They wanted to do it as part of emergency legislation and charge it to the national credit card.
O aeroporto de Johnstown, na Pensilvânia, recebe 3 voos programados por dia. Excetuando esses, está quase sempre vazio.
When you have the flights coming, that's when the people are here.
Right.
Other than that, it's empty.
Mas há um rosto omnipresente, o do congressista John Murtagh, como se vê no nome do aeroporto. Ele, que é conhecido como o rei da carne de porco, conseguiu $200 milhões de Washington para o aeroporto de John Murtagh. No início de 2010, o terminal recebeu uma nova fonte de rendimento, $800 mil do pacote de incentivos para alcatroar novamente a pista secundária. O responsável pelo aeroporto insiste que a pista de aterragem é segura, sendo assim porque necessita de ser arranjada se a segurança da pista não está em causa.
Because of the steps we've taken, this plant is about to shift into high gear.
Um dos maiores programas de incentivos foi concebido para a indústria automóvel. Dinheiro pelo seu chasso velho. Isto é, entregue o seu carro antigo e receba dinheiro do governo para comprar um novo. Foi tão popular que os 1.000 milhões previstos se esgotaram numa semana. Assim foi rapidamente injetado mais dinheiro. Muitos países ofereciam programas de abate semelhantes. A Alemanha possuía o maior de todos, concedendo quase 7.000 milhões para trocar carros com mais de 9 anos por modelos novos.
Our government seemed to think that German auto industry is so important, we have to support it in some ways, and therefore they created this bonus. They didn't call it a scrapping bonus because I think they knew just how ridiculous that was, so they called it an environment bonus.
Karen Horn é doutorada em Economia pelo Instituto de Economia Alemão.
And of course, people took advantage of that. It worked as long as it was on. The program worked, but now it's out, it's over. And of course, numbers are dropping. People are feeling that they ran into additional debt due to that bonus that they wanted to take advantage of, and they're having problems they didn't anticipate.
A Alemanha gastou quase 7.000 milhões de dólares para trocar carros perfeitamente operacionais e para alimentar a produção sedentária da indústria automóvel. Assim que o programa acabou, a indústria caiu no marasmo.
I was just very surprised that people would accept the idea so readily. That they would accept the money is something else, who wouldn't, but that they would find this a solution that they deemed viable. It doesn't give me a very good impression of the rationality of the voter and taxpayer, I must say.
And that's where we are. I think at this point, the problem is now so big that government stimulus is not going to, buy us another 5 or 6 years of phony growth like it did last time. Because we have to accumulate so much more debt now. Because the bigger the problem gets, the more we have to stimulate to get that short-term boost. But now the bigger the bust, because now we have a bigger stimulus, to get out of the economy.
Cerca de um ano depois da pior crise económica da história moderna, a Lehman Brothers faliu. Mas, excetuando isso, Wall Street continua na mesma. Muitos bancos anunciam lucros recordes. As bolsas mundiais dispararam. O mercado tem finalmente algum alívio. Porém, não é estranho? Já não passamos por isso? Todas as medidas tomadas para salvar a economia, as taxas de juro mais baixas, a dívida colossal, a rede de segurança para o setor financeiro, são as mesmas situações que provocaram a crise inicial. Fomos poupados das consequências do rebentamento de uma bolha, enchendo centenas de novas bolhas pelo mundo.
One year ago, I took office amid 2 wars, an economy rocked by a severe recession. a financial system on the verge of collapse, and a government deeply in debt. Experts from across the political spectrum warned that if we did not act, we might face a second depression. So we acted, immediately and aggressively. And 1 year later, the worst of the storm has passed.
Viens avec moi à l'hôtel d'amour. L'amour est partout. L'amour est pur et libre. Réaliser tes rêves à l'hôtel d'amour.
Há sinais positivos. Estamos em The Hamptons, nos arredores de Nova Iorque. É o tradicional local de lazer da elite de Manhattan. Uma casa junto ao Atlântico como esta custa 30 milhões de dólares. E um pão de cachorro-quente acompanhado de salada de lavagante fica por 18 dólares. É fast food ao estilo de The Hamptons. A crise também deixou marcas por aqui. No aeroporto há menos jatos privados. Em vez disso, os Porsches dividem a autoestrada para Nova Iorque com os Mercedes.
New York City, Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles, California don't represent the real world. They also don't represent the real part of America, the so-called Main Street of America.
My tax money go to Beverly Hills. Well, there's a lot of money in Beverly Hills. I don't think they needed my money down there. That's a different world. That's not a reality, you know, than that.
Se alguma vez visitar Union e precisar de cortar o cabelo, é possível que acabe na barbearia de Frank Petrilli.
But unfortunately, a lot of people lost their homes because they lost their jobs. And they're not living the life that one time were able to do it. A lot of the young people, especially educated, they try to move, go out of town. But I believe no matter where they go, the situation is the same all over. Where are they going to go, Detroit?
Now listen, son. I wasn't going to tell you this, but you're the reason we came here all the way from Indiana. You've heard all the talkers. Now I'm going to show you the doers.
O governo norte-americano lançou planos de resgate, pacotes de incentivos e garantias no valor total de 10 bilhões de dólares.
Caught myself wondering for the 100th time how the hell I got here. What the hell I'm doing here.
Ultrapassa o custo total que o governo norte-americano suportou com a Primeira Guerra Mundial, a Segunda Guerra Mundial, a Guerra da Coreia, a Guerra do Vietnã, a invasão do Iraque, o New Deal do Plano Marshall e a alunagem. Bush acumulou praticamente mais dívida pública do que todos os seus antecessores juntos, de George Washington a Bill Clinton. E Obama está prestes a criar mais dívida pública do que todos os presidentes que governaram antes dele, incluindo George W. Bush. Mas os Estados Unidos não são os únicos a assemelharem-se cada vez mais a um castelo de cartas. Durante a crise, muitos governos endividaram-se ainda mais. De acordo com estimativas, o valor médio da dívida dos países mais ricos ultrapassará os 100% durante 2011. São empréstimos contraídos a uma taxa de juro reduzida. Se esta subir de um ponto percentual, o pagamento dos juros sofrerá um aumento de 100 mil milhões de dólares por ano. Ultrapassa o custo anual da Guerra do Vietnã.
Sometimes it's just an engine failure, other times it's the deadly flak. If the pilot's lucky, the flak kills him. But usually he isn't, and he burns to death as his plane spins in.
A simples ideia de que os Estados Unidos, a maior superpotência mundial, possa falir parece ridícula, até porque obtém a mais alta classificação das agências de rating de crédito.
One of the lessons that we must learn from the mortgage-related subprime is you have to take credit ratings with a big grain of salt. Because as we saw with the mortgage-related securities, they went from AAA rating to junk bond pretty fast once people understood the true situation. Today, the United States is rated AAA, but if it doesn't start taking steps to put its financial house in order, that AAA rating will be lost. It's only a matter of when and how quickly.
Em setembro de 2008, a falência de um dos maiores bancos de investimento obrigou a economia mundial a vergar. O triste fim do Lehman Brothers levou a questionar quem viria a seguir. Todos passaram a evitar fazer negócios com os bancos. Como reagirá o mundo se a próxima instituição a falir for um país? Quem será o próximo da lista se isso acontecer? Alguns castelos de cartas já começaram a desmoronar. Esta é a Islândia. Até há bem pouco tempo era uma das nações mais ricas do mundo. Quando a crise bateu à porta, os bancos islandeses faliram. A bolsa islandesa ruiu, deixando a dívida de herança à reduzida população. Pela primeira vez em 50 anos, este pacífico país registrou tumultos. Esta é a Grécia. Neste país, o déficit público atingiu valores recordes. A dívida nacional já representa 135% do PIB. O mercado cobra a taxa mais alta pelos empréstimos gregos, aumentando a pressão na já estrangulada economia do país. Prevê-se que o governo grego precise de um novo resgate para evitar a falência. Itália, Espanha, Portugal e Reino Unido são os outros países europeus com os mesmos problemas. E a Suécia? As contas do país são sólidas. A dívida nacional e o déficit são mais baixos do que os da maioria dos países. Só que o país depende muito da economia mundial. Mais de metade da riqueza assenta nas exportações. Quando os outros países fracassam, a Suécia é afetada com a mesma intensidade. O preço das casas também tem vindo a subir com a crise, apesar da recessão e do desemprego crescente. Contudo, graças à reduzida taxa de juro e à empresa estatal de crédito à habitação, a SBAB, é muito fácil contrair empréstimos. Os suecos nunca tiveram uma taxa de esforço das dívidas em relação aos rendimentos tão elevada. Tudo isto não parece bastante familiar?
We have new bubbles everywhere, so I am pretty worried about what's going to happen.
If you don't want bubbles to burst, then don't blow them up in the first place, because all bubbles burst.
Quando há muitas coisas que podem correr mal, o mais provável é algumas efetivamente falharem. É só uma questão de saber qual a agulha que vai rebentar a bolha. Serão as perdas com novos créditos, uma vez que os bancos assumem cada vez mais riscos, sabendo que o governo os considera demasiado grandes para falir? Ou será a queda dos preços nas bolsas à medida que as taxas de juros sobem e os artifícios acabam? Será um sobreaquecimento da economia chinesa? Ou será uma quebra da confiança no dólar norte-americano?
If we lose the confidence of our foreign lenders, and we must not allow that to happen, but if that were to happen, then there would be a dramatic decline in the dollar, a dramatic increase in interest rates, significant fueling of inflation, a very, very deep recession and possibly depression that would be felt around the world. We must not allow that to happen.
Quando a próxima bolha rebentar, não será possível usar as mesmas medidas de emergência. Não é possível descer ainda mais as taxas de juro que já bateram no fundo. Não é possível estimular a economia com dinheiro emprestado quando uma dívida nacional excedentária for a causa da crise. Os governos podem salvar os bancos, mas quem poderá salvar os governos?
Ultimately, there's going to be a price all around the world to be paid for this. And the longer it continues, the bigger that price is going to be.
You know, this really is a moral question. I mean, I can give you plenty of big and bad numbers. You know, when you talk about tens of trillions of dollars, it's just hard to imagine. But you have to put a face on it. And to me, I put my children's and my grandchildren's face on it. It's their future that we're mortgaging.
When we tell people that there's going to be a bailout bubble, and they see the world equity markets up 50, 60%, they don't want to believe that it's another bubble. They want to step right up back to that table and throw their dice and try to win their hand at the wheel of fortune that Wall Street's spinning. So people still don't want to believe that the worst is yet to come.
É fácil pensar que estas previsões são demasiado negras, mas foi precisamente o que as pessoas disseram em ocasiões anteriores. Quando estes especialistas previram a crise financeira de 2008, foram alvo de chacota nos média.
We can do it, but we need to do it soon because the clock is ticking and time is not working in our favor.
Locução Alberto Ramos, Dialectos.